My home gym setup went from this to this. And today I'm going to share with you how I did it. Honestly, my home gym needed a glow up for a really long time, so I'm super excited to share with you today my updated home gym using WeGym dumbbells and WeGym's new weight rack, designed specifically for their dumbbells, but they can fit a lot of other dumbbells too. So I think you're going to love hearing this quick little review to see if this weight rack may be right for your home gym. And as always, if you want to check out WeGym, you can use my code DBN10 to get 10% off your order anytime you purchase at WeGym. All right, so initially unboxing this weight rack, I was super impressed. The setup was really easy, and honestly, I am no mechanic or fix-it type gal. My fiance does all of that usually, but I was so excited to use this rack that I actually put it together myself in about 10 to 15 minutes. It was really simple. It comes with all the nuts and bolts that you need, and there's really not a whole lot of pieces in there, just two of the long pieces that you see that hold the rack together, a couple screws, and then it also comes with a couple little tools that you can put the screws on with and tighten them, make sure that they're all nice and perfect. It also comes with a couple extra of those prongs that you see that hold the weights in case you damage any of them and they need replacing. The weight rack that I got was the large, but actually WeGym came out with 3 different sizes. So there's a small, a medium, and a large. The large is going to fit all of the weights that WeGym offers, and that is a total of 8 different weights. So if you have weights of your own and you're curious how many things you can fit on there, it has 8, and then it goes from small to larger at the bottom in terms of the prong size. I do highly recommend upgrading to the WeGym dumbbells. I have a separate review on those, but there's a lot of reasons why you should. If nothing else, just think of the cohesiveness of having like the same color dumbbell, or at least being able to pick your color scheme. I think that that's just makes a huge difference. I went from having all sorts of colors and color palettes and sizes of my dumbbells to one cohesive color scheme and shape, and it just makes all of the difference to the eyes. It's not an eyesore anymore. So the smaller one is meant to fit the smaller set of weights, so 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 5 pounds, and 8 pounds. And then the medium rack is gonna fit the larger weights. So that's 10 pounds, 12 pounds, 15 pounds, and 20 pounds. So that's kind of what it's designed for. I wouldn't put anything heavier than recommended, just because again, this rack is completely designed for WeGym's weights. So I wouldn't try to go too far left field if you do have different weights. In my experience with the large weight rack, it is very stable. If you push it from front to back, there is a little bit of like a give, there's a little bit of wobble, but it always comes back to center. They seem to have built it in a very structurally supportive way. So like, even though it has that give, it's not just gonna tip over from the slightest bit of pressure. Some of you may not love that it tips at all, but that's personal preference. Honestly, if I could go back, I might get the small and medium weight rack just because those are shorter and closer to the ground. So if you're worried about kids or anything knocking them over, that's not a thing. I just make sure that my kiddo is nowhere near the weight rack at any given time. And if he ever gets more tempted by it, I might move it to a different room. But I'm always really diligent about him just not touching it in general. So I feel pretty good about it. It's not gonna tip easily, but there is that factor that I just wanna share on here. In terms of pricing, the small rack is $75, medium rack is $100, and then the large rack is $150. Again, you can use my code if you want to get a little percentage off of that. Honestly, pretty reasonable price considering just the aesthetic appeal and comparison to other weight racks that I've seen. Honestly, I've had so many different weight racks and none of them really worked. And most of the time, none of them really truly fit all of my dumbbells. It was even more of a danger because some of my smaller dumbbells wouldn't totally fit on the rack evenly. And then, you know, easily my 10-month-old could have knocked them over too, hypothetically. Obviously, you gotta stay diligent as a parent. to make sure that never happens, but it was even more of a concern with my old weight rack than with the new one. I feel a lot more secure with this one. So what are the pros and the cons? Starting with cons, I think the tiny bit of wobble back and forth might be worrisome for some folks. Again, I think it's worth it to get the rack and just put it in a spot where it's going to be perfectly safe, maybe against a wall, if you were worried about that wobble at all, but it's not enough to actually tip it over. It wobbles back and forth and it evens itself out very easily, and the more weights that you have on it, the more sturdy it is. The other con that maybe I would mention is that there is only one color that it comes in right now, which is that like moonstone sandstone color, which is the one that I would have picked anyway, but some folks might want a black one or other color. I do think that they're coming out with a gray color for those who want like a darker vibe. The other con potentially is that it's designed for WeGym's specific weights. So if you have all large weights that are bigger in size for some reason, maybe they won't fit them all, but all of the ones that I've tried, like my old weights, ended up fitting in this weight rack. It's just that I'm donating those to my family now, so I don't need to worry about that. But they're not going to be designed for any old weight. Like a 20-pound can fit on the top rack and then 25 can fit on the middle rack. Like, you want to make sure you match it to the weight that it recommends for WeGym's dumbbells if you use different ones. In terms of pros, I think there's a lot of pros to it, especially just the aesthetic of it. It's the prettiest weight rack that I've ever seen for home gym neoprene style dumbbells. I really haven't seen a whole lot like it, and I love that it comes in different sizes, small, medium, and large, so you can choose like how high you want the weight rack to be, if you want 2 short ones or just 1 short one, or if you want all of them to stack up, you can kind of choose and build your own home gym the way you see fit. I think that that's pretty cool. As I mentioned, it's specifically built for WeGym's dumbbells, so that little C-shaped curve that the dumbbell fits in is just perfectly snug while still being easy to pull the dumbbell out and not like snagging on anything and making it a risk of tipping the weight rack over. It's perfectly fit, but also very ergonomic and not hard to get the weights out. I mean, it is a weight rack, so it's really hard for me to know all of the questions that you might have on this. So let me know in the comment section below if you have any other questions that I didn't answer on this weight rack. I just wanted to show you some of the products that I really love by WeGym, because I love their products and they're always coming out with new and fun things, and fitness reviews are just something that I really love doing. So if you have more questions that I didn't cover, make sure to comment below and let me know what you'd like to see a review on in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.